Hey guys, Sean Terry here, Flip2Freedom.com. So I want to talk about programming. So us being programmed and why we might not be achieving the success we believe we deserve, we've been trying to, we've been pushing toward, and it could all be around this programming that we get literally from the age 1 through 7, and then from 7 on is insane. So maybe you've been in a situation a lot like me for years and years. I would put forth the effort, I would visualize, I would dream, I wanted to accomplish. I read success book after success book. I listened to podcasts. I did all these things attempting. I got my to-do list, I've got my goals, I got my vision board, all this stuff, and nothing seemed to work. I seemed like I was trying everything, but it didn't work. I was even being consistent trying everything, and it didn't work. And I wonder, what the heck am I doing wrong, right? So here's the thing, is that from the age of 1 to 7, we essentially are programmed by our parents. Now, let me ask you a question, right? For you watching this right now, did your parents between your age of 1 to 7 make $100,000 or less? Well, for me, the answer was yes. Actually, that number was $45,000 or less. So my parents made no more from the age of 1 to 7. Actually, a lot less than that. It was like in the $20,000, right? We lived in a trailer. My dad was a new police officer at the time, and I grew up, and his parents made way less than $100,000, and I grew up in a little town in Vermont. So during the age of 1 to 7, the interesting thing is we are in a theta state, or essentially a hypnosis state. So hypnosis means is that your conscious mind essentially is away, and everything goes directly in the subconscious. So between the age of 1 and 7, we essentially have no conscious to filter what is right and what is wrong. What we do is literally it goes all in our brain, and we accept it as truth, Now, any type of behaviors that happen that we see and mimic, any suggestions that are given to us, any observations that we make, create our programming from the age of 1 to 7. Now, think about this. I grew up with programming where I go to the store, my parents would say, well, guess what? We can't afford that. Or have you heard this one? Well, money doesn't grow on trees, right? I'd say, hey, I need some money to go get some food for after school. Well, hey, guess what? Money doesn't grow on trees. What else did they say? Some other thing like, how you feeling? Well, fair to middling. Or you'd say, how you feeling? Or I'm tired, right? So, I grew up, and maybe you grew up, and I'm sure people watching this grew up where we had all these suggestions of there's not enough, or there's lack, or there's not enough money for this, or not enough money for that. And it creates a belief pattern. It creates an attitude. It creates a programming of how we essentially live the rest of our life. So when you're older, in your, say, now I'm 49 turning 50, but when you're older, 95% of the way you make decisions on what we do, on things that are we don't even know why, right? We may sabotage the situation. We may not make a decision when we should make a decision. And we don't understand why, but it's internal programming. Just like, your subconscious right now controls your breathing. It controls your heartbeat. It controls the blood flowing through your body, right? It controls pain, and you feel and you shy away from certain painful things, and it moves you toward pleasure. So there's a lot of subconscious things going on behind the scene, and decisions are subconscious, right? How we react to certain situations and things are essentially subconscious. So All that programming, when we're in that theta state with no subconscious that's literally being poured, essentially affects our 95% of our behavior from the age of 7 on. Now, it goes even further than this. Check this out. And this is crazy. Is that from the age of 7, where do we go? We go to school, right? We go to school. We go to kindergarten, then we go to first grade, we go to second grade, third grade, fourth grade, all the way up until we're 18 years old. And we spend the better part of 6 hours a day from the age of 7 all the way to 18, 11 years, for the better part of the most of the day being taught math, science, social studies, and English. That is roughly 14,000 hours of our life being programmed about math, science, social studies, English. Now, if you look back, schools were created to teach employees how to be great employees, right? The ultra wealthy, the people that were business owners, that were entrepreneurs that own these massive factories, like the Rockefellers, like Andrew Carnegie, right, came up with schooling, formal education, to teach people how to be great employees. So they taught them these basics, math, science, social studies, English. So now they get out of school and they could work for these large corporations and become great employees, right? That's why in school, they don't teach you how to manage your checkbook. They don't teach you how to make money, right? They don't teach you how to become an entrepreneur. You don't learn that in school. We learn how to, how to spell, right? We know basic math, right? We know, our history, right? We learn that in our school. So now we got 7 years in this theta state where we're being programmed from parents that make less than 100 that are not successful, and they don't mean it. It's not their fault. It's not your fault. But we take that on. It affects 95% of our life. Then we go to school. We go 14,000 hours learning how to be an amazing employee. Then all of a sudden, now you want to be an entrepreneur. Now you want to be a real estate investor. Now you want to go out and become successful. And you start taking actions, and you're trying to take actions, and you're wondering, why the heck am I not becoming successful? Because internally and subconsciously, right, you're making decisions about certain things. Should I spend the money on the marketing? Should I invest in myself and my self-education? Should I invest in a business, right? Should I raise capital for a deal? Those are scary things that internally we would shy away from and not do, but become paramount when it becomes actually starting and becoming a successful business, right? And certain things we might do to go out and become successful. So here's the thing. Here's the question, right? How do you reprogram yourself? How do you reprogram yourself? Well, number one thing, the number one way to reprogram yourself is called behavioral congruency. Behavioral congruency. That means you can adopt the congruent behavior of a successful person. So what happens is you study successful people and you do what they do. Well, guess what? Successful people make decisions quickly and then they change those decisions slowly. Read the book Think and Grow Rich, right? Think and Grow Rich by Napoleon Hill. He talks about what a successful person does and how they act and what they do. That's why I invest money in masterminds. That's why I invest in coaching. That's why I invest in books. That's why I invest in education. Because I'm investing in self-education because I'm looking for those behavioral congruencies that I can adopt to change my, years and years of programming so I can get better results. So the thing is you got to do is you got to find someone that has what you want. You got to adopt their behaviors and be congruent and do what they do, and you can become successful. Mimic their decision patterns. Mimic how they take risks in a business. Mimic how they invest their money. Mimic how they invest their money in themselves. Mimic how they keep healthy. Mimic how they essentially their morning rituals. Now, Tim Ferriss wrote a book called The Tool of Titans, and he interviewed incredibly successful people all across the entire country. And one of the common threads was they all have a morning ritual. They all spend a half hour to an hour in the morning actually priming themselves for success. That is a behavioral congruency. If that's something you're not doing in your life, do it. If you're not investing in your self-education, do it. If you don't have a coach or a mentor or you join a mastermind, do it. Right? Because what you have to do is reprogram yourself. It's not easy. It's hard to do. But the bottom line is that's the secret to becoming and reprogramming yourself and becoming successful. It's taken me years of misery pushing through it. And I'm still today working on myself of the things that I know that are programming that's moving me in the wrong direction and trying to get better to move in the right direction by mimicking highly successful people. So surround yourself with the best of the best and see what happens in your life.